1038.
Anthony and Joe, pleasure to meet you both.
Great to meet you, Andy.
Of course, being from Ireland, I have to ask, Tom Vaughan-Lawlor plays Ebony Maw.
Amazing in the film.
How did his casting come about? Were you familiar with other things he's done?
Yeah, we were familiar with his work, and he also did a reading for us for the part. And we were trying to define the personality of those characters. The Black Order; these are called the Children of Thanos, and they're his henchmen. So we were looking for actors to bring personality to the character, and he just created this very interesting, complex character that is really popping with the people who've seen the movie so far. So we're very indebted to him for it.
I was lucky enough to see a small clip of it last night, and I think he's going to steal the film. I hope.
Oh, yeah,
well, we hope.
He's pretty damn funny in the movie. Yeah.
You're putting together probably the largest ensemble cast that's ever been put together. When you're sitting down with the writers to go through a story for something like that, do you think I need to create a story that's going to affect all the characters, or do I need an arc for each of these individual characters?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, look, it's always the storytelling is always paramount to everything that we do. So we sit in a room with the writers Marcus and McFeely for many, many months, and we sort of lay all the characters out on the walls, and we sort of write ideas beneath them about where we can take the characters, how we can combine them, and we kind of slowly find our way through the film. And it's very much about just the potency of the narrative, and it's all servicing that, and just figuring out how you take each individual character and blend them into that narrative and figure out how they're feeding that narrative or how that narrative's feeding them on a character level. And that's really the trick of it.
And on those characters, would you have a lot of say in what goes on in other films, or would you watch something like Thor Ragnarok and think Taika Waititi just ripped Thor's eye out of his head, destroyed his world, and made it hilarious? What do we do now?
That's part of the fun.
We love that stuff.
You have to, you have to take what's preceded you in the MCU as a given, and that's sort of like the point you're carrying forward from, and that's exciting on a storytelling front.
Everybody gets to work on their own movies individually. Marvel's very good about each thing is its own thing, and they want everyone's own voice into those films. As you can see, Thor Ragnarok is very different than, what Taika did with it is very different than what Ken Branagh did with it. Our interpretation of Captain America is very different than Joss Whedon's interpretation of Captain America. And I think the audience loves that. I think they love the surprises that go along with that. And, frankly, as filmmakers, we love those surprises as well. We go, okay, great, now Thor's got, one less eye, and let's figure it out.
You've gotten to introduce Spider-Man, you've got to introduce Black Panther, Captain Marvel now is the next one. Do you have a layout of what's going to be part of that film, the solo film, or do you put your own take on it and kind of leave it to them to sort it out?
Like we did with Spider-Man. I mean, that was our interpretation of Spider-Man, and then John Watts picks up that interpretation. He does his interpretation of it. But we knew that we always wanted a kid to play the part. I grew up a Spider-Man fan, and one thing I felt was missing from the pantheon of Spider-Man movies was somebody actually close to the age of 16 who could portray the character. So that was our choice, and or Chadwick with Black Panther. I mean, there's a certain regality and mystique to him as an actor that was really important to the part. Again, because we're only seeing just the surface of it. But we don't then enact or ascribe to the next filmmaker what to do with the character. They look at what we did the same way that we've looked at people prior to us, and they pick up the ball and run with it.
I'm a big fan of your work on Arrested Development and Community. We got to see the stair car in Civil War. We got to see Danny Pudi in Winter Soldier. Doctor Strange is in this film. Yeah. Any chance we see him maybe in the Gothic Castle with
There's a few surprises coming. Yeah. I would say that Arrested Development fans should keep their eyes open in this one.
Oh, nice. So we might see a Job, Tony Wonder, a Doctor Strange team up.
You might see, you got to look. Keep your eyes open, you got to look.
Nice. Yeah. Finally as well, you've been kind of at the forefront of technologies. IMAX is a big thing. I know Steven Soderbergh, a mentor of yours, just went the other way and shot a film on an iPhone.
On an iPhone, yes.
What do you think is kind of the next leap in the technology? I think 3D has kind of been a bit of a bust. Is there anything that you think, watch this space, this is going to be next?
I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit of time, but I think AR and VR, obviously, we're going to keep moving towards more immersive storytelling. I think a lot of it always has to do with adoption of the tech and the tech getting smaller and smaller and easier to use. But when you can walk around with Google Glass on and, I don't know, you have a cat obsession, and you can be sitting here in this room in an interview with your glasses on, there's cats everywhere because that's what you like, and you're curating your experience of your life, I think that's going to be very important to people, and that's going to be the tech that, the most explosive tech in the next decade.
As storytellers, do you worry that that will take away from the story and it'll become kind of a gimmick as opposed to what we're looking at on the screen?
Well, I mean, look, we've always like you mentioned the example with Steven Soderbergh too, shooting a movie on an iPhone. It's like, you know, we've always embraced technology as a way to allow ourselves to find new creative forms of expression. You know, so I don't think the technology almost doesn't matter in the sense that it can't corrupt what you're trying to do as an artist or as a storyteller. It can only serve as a tool for what you're trying to do or not. You know,
just keep telling good stories.
Yeah, exactly. We keep focused on that. And the exciting thing for us is new technology allows you to tell stories in different ways, in ways that you haven't been able to tell them before, audiences haven't been able to experience them before, and it leads you to new, fresh areas on a creative level, I think. So it's like, for us, technology is always an excitement.
I think 2-hour, two-dimensional storytelling has been a mainstay for 100 years, and I think audiences are getting predictive with the story structure. It's very hard to do something different in that 2-hour structure. I think the Marvel Universe is a reaction against that. It's this, you know, it's this expanded universe made up of all of these different stories, and it's having, you know, a great amount of success because of it. So I think that that we just naturally crave is, you know, new forms of storytelling, and you know, technology is the way to achieve that. I mean, Arrested Development wouldn't exist if it weren't for us using, you know, being the first people to use digital cameras on a narrative network television show, and we couldn't shoot that show any other way. So we are always looking for the cutting edge of technology to help us tell stories.
Finally, my last question is, going into Avengers Infinity War, you know this is going to be the biggest film of all time. This is the culmination of 18 Marvel movies. How daunting is that? And do you feel like there is any way of this being a success for you on an artistic front as well as a financial front?
Well, without question. I mean, I don't think we would have spent the 2 years of our lives on the movie if we didn't feel like we had some sort of artistic outlet in it. I mean, that's part of the reason we made 4 films with Marvel, is they give us an incredible amount of autonomy and trust. We've worked in studios all over town, and this has been the easiest, warmest, most creatively supportive studio that we've ever worked at, without question. So, you know, for us, this was the challenge of telling the story, but also completing the personal journey that we started as storytellers in Winter Soldier. So the story that began in Winter Soldier and that ends in Avengers 4 is there's a very personal arc there for us. I think you'll understand our point of view as filmmakers and who we are as people when you watch all 4 of those movies together.
I don't think the Marvel movies would have realized the success you're referencing without that at the heart of them. I think that's sort of what perhaps the most essential element to the success.
Yeah, I don't think that Black Panther is as successful without Ryan Coogler's heart and soul in that movie, nor is Ragnarok as successful without Taika Waititi's unique sensibility in that movie.
Anthony and Joe Russo, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Spin 1038.